What's up, everybody? It's me, Chris, again. Here to talk about the boxing fights that went on over the weekend. Just give my opinions on them or whatever. Anyways, first up on Friday night, we had Celestino Caballero win a bantamweight unification title fight over Steve Molitor. I didn't make a prediction on this fight because I didn't see enough of the fighters. The one thing I did say is I was curious if Caballero's height advantage would be or if his rather large height for the division would be an advantage of his. And it turned out to be the case, although that wasn't his only advantage. I don't really know what to say. Molitor, like I said, I'd never seen him fight before, but the guy looked lost in there. It almost looked like he had no game plan, like he hadn't seen any film on Caballero. He said he had an off night, and I agree. I mean, I can't say I've never seen him fight before, so maybe he just always looks like that, but he just looked like he had no idea what to do against Caballero. Caballero pretty much bum rushed him from the first round on and was slinging these wide punches to the body and to the head and just following him, chasing him down all over the ring. I don't know if Molitor's naturally a counterpuncher and he was trying to set up counters, but even if he was, he never really did that effectively. So Caballero, I think he pretty much just established early that he had nothing to fear, and he kind of just kept going at him until he was able to stop him in the fourth. Molitor's corner actually threw in the towel to stop the fight after Molitor had been knocked down. He was on the way to being knocked down a second time, and his corner stopped it, which a stoppage was kind of the theme of the weekend, whether by a ref or corner man. But Caballero looked good. Like I said, he's really big for the weight. He called out, I believe he called out the Mexican fighters, meaning Vasquez and Marquez. It's hard to say how he do in those fights because I don't know what Marquez and Vasquez have left after this trilogy that they just had. I mean, they beat the hell out of each other, so it's hard, until I see either of those guys fight. I don't know what they have left in the tank, Some guys just can't rebound from fights like that, like Castillo and Corrales. They were never the same fighters after their first fight. So, I don't know. I'd like to see him fight either of those guys, but like I said, I don't know what they have left. Maybe Marquez first, because, I don't know. I heard Vasquez, they said, has an eye injury and he's going to be out for a while, so I'd like to see Caballero Marquez. Also, I'd like to see Caballero versus Juan Manuel Lopez. I know they said that'd be down the line because Lopez is still, a young fighter, but the way he's looked in his last couple fights, maybe he's not ready for Caballero just yet, but it's a fight I definitely want to see sometime next year. Lopez has looked really impressive. But so, anyways, that's moving on to last night. First fight we had was James Kirkland versus Brian Vera, that is, my bad. Kirkland wins by a TKO in the 8th after the ref stops it. This fight pretty much went exactly how I thought it would. Vera looked exactly the same as he did against, what's that guy's name? Andy Lee, earlier this year. He gets battered around the ring, but he kind of just hangs in there and survives. And against Andy Lee, he was able to win, come back and win. But against Kirkland, he was stopped, but it was just... Vera gets hit so often and so many clean flush punches, it looks like he's about to get knocked out anytime, It almost looks like he's drunk in there. I mean, just the way he's floundering around the ring, and I had a comment where someone said he looked disoriented. I agree with that. But he's a tough guy. He could take a lot of punishment. I'll give him that much. And unfortunately, he's only a one-punch fighter. He just kind of counters with the right. And he caught Kirkland with it a lot of times. I know Kirkland's corner was getting mad because Vera's a one-punch fighter, but yet he was still catching Kirkland with that punch every now and then. But he didn't really have enough power to hurt Kirkland, although he did catch him flush a few times. But and Kirkland was smart, though. He was going to the body, too. He was mixing it up, because you could tell whenever he was landing a lot of those hard body shots, Vera was filling him. He would double over and kind of just back off and things, So those definitely took a lot of steam out of Vera, especially towards the end of the fight. Kirkland, he looked impressive once again, but he definitely is going to have to tighten up his defense and sharpen up his technique, as he progresses in his career. He's easy to hit, Granted, if you want to get to him, you're going to have to survive his onslaught or his firepower, you know what I'm saying, early on, because he definitely brings the heat early. But if you can, or if you're an elusive boxer that can, avoid a lot of that stuff, then you might have a good chance of beating him. Like I said, he's open to get hit. He gets caught a lot with punches. He's been stunned in the past in a couple fights I've seen. But fortunately the guy's got a lot of resolve and he's able to take the punches and just keep going on. Guy's just he's a beast. But I don't know. I don't really know who he's going to fight from here on out. There's a lot of good fights out there for him. Maybe a guy like a a Joao Julio, although I don't know if he's ready for that just yet. But that's a fight I'd like to see. Maybe a Verno Phillips if he loses to Paul Williams next weekend, as I suspect he might, or maybe Mayorga. He seems to be a guy that's floating around that division all the time, that's up for a fight. But you might want to keep him away from guys like Spinks and Corey Spinks, that is, and Vernon Forrest and Sergio Martinez. You might want to keep him away from those guys right now because they're really slick boxers, and I think that they could give him a lot of problems in there. But looking forward to seeing his next fight. The guy makes for entertaining fights, and this was the fight of the weekend as I thought it would be, at least in my eyes. Main event of that last night, Ricky Hatton gets a TKO in the 11th round over Paul Malignaggi after Buddy McGirt threw in the tower, which Malignaggi was very unhappy with. Can't say whether I agree or disagree with the stoppage. Oh, speaking of stoppages, the Vera stoppage, I guess it was appropriate. The guy wasn't really knocked out. He wasn't about to get knocked out at the moment, it didn't appear, but he had taken a lot of punishment throughout the fight. It didn't appear he was going to win the fight at that point. I think the ref's just protecting the fighter and looking out for the safety of him. So there are times when I think a ref stops the fight too soon, but in that case, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he was just looking out for the fighter's safety, and that's always a good thing. Back to Malignaggi Hatton. Another case here where there was a stoppage. Malignaggi, as I said, didn't agree with it. I understand Buddy McGirt's his point of view. He saw Malignaggi getting tagged in there. Malignaggi was pretty much a one-punch fighter, or one-handed fighter, it appeared at that point. Wasn't defending himself well. He wasn't going to get the knockout to win the fight in the last couple rounds. So McGirt looks as his why take unnecessary punishment. Malignaggi really got battered around in that Miguel Cotto fight. And maybe that flashed back to McGirt's mind. He didn't want to see him get beat up anymore. Why ruin the kid? Whether Malignaggi agrees or not, I think that's just his pride. I don't blame him for getting upset, but McGirt's just looking out for his best interest and his well-being. So I definitely can't fault him for that. I can see both sides of the coin. As for Ricky Hatton, or as for the fight itself, pretty much how I went. Another fight where it went pretty much how I thought it would. Although Malignaggi did look really good in the first round. He implemented his game plan really good in the first round. Jab, move, was catching Hatton on the outside. But come second round, Hatton hurt Paulie Malignaggi with a punch. I believe it was a right. Caught him with it, and from that point on, it was all Hatton. I said I thought he'd be able to implement his game plan more effectively. He did so from that point on. A lot of punching, a lot of grabbing, mauling. Ugly fight, just as I feared it would be. I said those styles don't make for good fights, and it was proven to be true. But Hatton did what he needed to do. He fought his normal fight. I didn't see a lot of improvement. Even with Floyd Mayweather Sr. in his corner, I didn't see a lot of improvement over his previous fights. But he was effective and didn't take a lot of shots, so maybe he should keep rolling with Mayweather because he got the win pretty easily. Although I think he may have, whether or not he had Mayweather in his corner, to be honest. But like I said, it was an ugly fight. It was a typical Hatton fight, in my opinion. But he keeps on winning, and he said after this fight he'd like to fight the winner of Pacquiao and De La Hoya, and I could definitely see that happening. De La Hoya still wants big fights, says he's going to keep fighting. So win or lose, I actually could see that fight being made. But if he wins, I could see Hatton going up to 147 to challenge him. Although I'd probably favor De La Hoya in that fight, especially if he beats Pacquiao. If Hatton fights Pacquiao, if Pacquiao defeats De La Hoya, I would assume, or I would hope that Manny would go down to 140 for that fight. I think he'd be more effective at that weight, although I've yet to see him at 147. But if they fought, without seeing Pacquiao against De La Hoya, that is, just going off his last fight over, what's that guy's name? Diaz. Whatever Diaz. David Diaz. I'd probably go with Pacquiao, you know what I'm saying? Like I said before, I'm not very impressed with Hatton. I never have been. He mauls guys, but I don't know if he'd be able to catch Manny Pacquiao. I think Manny Pacquiao would be able to use his speed and his counter-punching and probably take a decision over Hatton. But it's just my opinion. Anyways, that's pretty much it for now. You know what I'm saying? I'll hit you guys up later this week with my Paul Williams, Verno Phillips, and Chris Arreola predictions. But till then, I'm out of here. Bye.